It started as a regular evening, the kind where nothing feels out of place. The sun had dipped below the horizon. I was driving home, cutting through the back roads to avoid traffic. I'd driven this way countless times before, but tonight felt different. The air was heavy, and the silence in the car pressed against me like a weight. Even the radio, playing softly in the background, seemed to fade into a distant hum. My headlights pierced through the darkness, illuminating the narrow road ahead. That's when I saw it. At first, I thought it was a trick of the light, a shadow darting across the road. I slowed down, scanning the trees, but there was nothing there, just the whispering branches swaying in the wind. I laughed to myself, shaking off the unease. Maybe I was just tired. But a mile down the road, it happened again. This time I saw it clearly. A figure, pale and thin, darting just at the edge of the light. It moved unnaturally, like it wasn't quite solid. I slammed on the brakes, my heart racing. The figure was gone, but the feeling lingered. That creeping, clawing sensation that I wasn't alone. I rolled down my window slightly, trying to listen for something, anything. But the forest was silent. No crickets, no rustling leaves, just a suffocating, unnatural quiet. My breath fogged in the cold air as I sat there, frozen in place. Finally, I shook my head and decided to keep driving. The moon hung low in the sky, casting an eerie glow over everything. That's when I saw the cabin. It wasn't supposed to be there. I'd taken this route for years and I'd never seen it before. The wooden structure leaned to one side, its windows dark and empty, like hollow eyes staring into the night. Something in me screamed to keep going, to drive past and never look back. But I stopped. Against all reason, I pulled over to the side of the road. The engine hummed quietly as I sat there, staring at the cabin. I told myself I'd just take a quick look, just to satisfy my curiosity. But deep down, I knew it wasn't curiosity pulling me in. I grabbed my flashlight from the glove compartment and stepped out of the car. The air was colder here, sharp and biting. My footsteps crunched against the gravel as I approached the cabin. The door was slightly ajar, creaking softly in the wind. I shined the flashlight inside, but the beam barely penetrated the thick darkness. "Hello?" My voice echoed back at me, thin and uncertain. No answer, just that oppressive silence. I pushed the door open further and stepped inside. The floorboards groaned under my weight, the sound echoing like a warning. The air was damp and smelled of mildew, a metallic tang that made my stomach turn. The flashlight's beams swept across the room, revealing broken furniture, shattered glass, and strange symbols carved into the walls. They weren't like anything I'd seen before, jagged, twisting shapes that seemed to writhe in the light. Then I heard it, a faint scratching sound coming from upstairs. My breath caught in my throat as I stared at the staircase. The sound grew louder, more insistent, like nails scraping against wood. Every instinct screamed at me to leave, but my legs moved on their own, carrying me toward the sound. Each step creaked loudly as I climbed the stairs. The scratching stopped the moment I reached the top. The hallway stretched out before me, lined with doors. One of them was slightly open, a dim, flickering light spilling out. I hesitated, my hand trembling as I reached for the door. As I pushed it open, the flashlight flickered and died, plunging me into darkness. My heart pounded as I fumbled with it, smacking it against my palm until the light sputtered back on. And then I saw it. In the corner of the room, crouched low and staring right at me, was the figure. Its skin was pale and stretched tight over its bones. Its eyes were hollow, empty voids that seemed to swallow the light. It smiled, a wide, unnatural grin that split its face in two. I stumbled back, my flashlight slipping from my hand and clattering to the floor. The thing moved then, its body contorting as it crawled toward me, faster than anything human should move. I turned and ran, the sound of its claws scraping against the floorboards, chasing me down the hall. I didn't look back. I flew down the stairs, nearly tripping over my own feet, and burst out of the cabin into the cold night air. I scrambled into my car, slamming the door and locking it. My hands shook as I turned the key in the ignition, the engine roaring to life. As I sped away, I glanced in the rearview mirror. The cabin was gone, but standing in the middle of the road, bathed in the red glow of my taillights, was the figure. It tilted its head, watching me, its grin never fading. I didn't stop. I didn't sleep that night, and I've never taken that road again. But sometimes, late at night, when the world is quiet, I still hear the scratching, and I know it's waiting for me.